If you want to achieve this look, keep watching, and welcome to my first video.
SMG Audio. SMG Audio.
Hello? If they answer the phone, we'll hang up. Hello? If they answer, we'll hang up.
So this is actually the inspiration video my client sent me for her birthday hairstyle, and in this video I'm going to show you the materials needed to get this look. Keep watching. So now we're going to just start off by me showing you the hair color. It's Adore Magenta 88, and I will be using a brush to stir up the dye. Also some gloves, and it's the pink Cantor. You already know. Right here you're going to see me struggling with my gloves, but of course you're going to need some type of bowl or bin with some boiling hot water. I used mine straight from out the sink. It really doesn't matter, but just make sure it is really hot. You will not need to spray your lace with got to be glue because with water dye it doesn't stain, but of course you should do it just to make sure. So right here I'm showing you how I am going to part off the closure, and I'm going to part the front separating from the back. I'm not going to part as much because of course it's just the the front parts of the closure. So right here I'm just finishing up parting the section that I am going to be dyeing lighter than the back and the rest of the bundles. So right here I'm just showing you, it's probably not even like a centimeter or an inch, I don't know, but yeah, just part it to what you think is best. And I also did use a clip to separate the hair from the lighter part that I am going to be dyeing first. So now it's time to dye. So I put a couple of drops of the magenta into the water first, and now you're just going to stir it up. And when you're stirring it up, just make sure that all the dye is evenly dispersed in the water. You don't need any big clumps of dye floating around like how it is now. And just make sure that you don't overfill your bin like me, because I got dye everywhere, all on my table. I would put down probably like a trash bag or some newspaper underneath, because my towel wasn't as efficient as I thought it was going to be, but that's okay. So just make sure you're stirring it all up, get in there. And right here I'm just doing a little test on my towel just to see what the color had looked like. So yeah, just go ahead and just start putting in there. I don't really have a specific method on how I dip it in. I just dip it in there. And what you're gonna do is let it sit for a couple of seconds, then just pull it back out. I do that a couple of times. Just make sure you're trying not to get that other section with as much dye on it. But I mean, it'll still be dyed, but it doesn't really matter. But if you get what I'm saying, then yeah. So the front part didn't need me to let it sit in there as much because of course it is going to be lighter than the rest of the hair. You just need to make sure around the edges that there is some dye on it, because it can still be blonde. As you can see, it's still like giving me white, and we don't need that. So I'm just gonna dip that whole thing in there. I didn't really care about the lace again because it will not stain with the water dye. But sometimes, you just gotta make sure. Just go ahead and spray that got to be glue spray on there and get that thing right. So here I am just putting more magenta in, just the whole thing at this point. Because now it's time to dye the rest of my closure and the rest of the bundles. So I am repeating the same steps from before. Make sure you get in there, stir that bad boy up. You don't need no big lumps of dye in there. Look at me. And y'all, don't mind my Capri Sun and my chocolate in the back because I had needed a little snack. You already know. A girl gets hungry. I'm just kidding. But yeah. See, look at me, just wasting it all over the place. And you can see the color. It is very dark. That's what we need. I mean, make sure you always do a tester. I would get a piece of napkin, dip it on in there, see if that's how you like it. But with me, I just felt as though it was going to come out perfect. So, yeah, you can see me testing it over there. But, yeah, I didn't need to test it with the napkin. So now I'm just going to dip the remaining half of the closure inside the water. So water dyeing is just very faster and easier than you hand painting it on. You just want to make sure that every single piece of hair is actually covered with the dye. I would get a comb or a brush, anything like that. You know, comb through it, put it back in the water, let it sit for how long you desire basically how long is basically up to you. Like how long you let it sit in there is up to you because you can decide on how dark, you can decide on how light, you can control everything with watercolor. So it's really your preference. But here I'm just trying to spread the pieces of hair out and actually let that color get into the closure. So we can have no blonde, like no blonde. We don't need no blonde, like no patches, period. Because we don't need nobody talking about us. So yeah. Okay, so now we're done dyeing our closure. As you can see the color difference. It's lighter in the front and darker in the back. So, fun fact, every time you dye your hair, it is going to look darker with the color on until you wash it off. So, that's just a fun fact. Right here, I'm just adding a little bit more dye into the water. Just because we need everything to come together the same. Like, we don't need the closure and the bundles not matching. We need everything to come together. Alright, so now it's time to dye our bundles. I actually can't remember off the top of my head what lengths they all were, but I will definitely put that in the description box below. So right here, I'm just trying to make sure the width is evenly in my hand. I'm just showing you guys the texture of the hair, and it was bomb. Like so soft, so long. Like oh my god, y'all! Just look at the color. It gives me red wine. It gives me feeling sexy. You already know. But yeah, like just get in there. You're definitely going to have to use two hands. Like just make sure you're separating your bundles and getting every single strand of blonde with magenta. Like seriously, guys, you do not need to see any blonde. Just get in there, get messy. So yeah, it's kind of basically self-explanatory. Just keep watching, and we're gonna see the final results. So you can see that the color looks very, very dark. You just want to make sure that the closure and the bundles, well, the back of the closure and the bundles all match. As you can see, the color is very similar to each other. I'm gonna be adding, just make sure you keep on adding in your dye. Like it's okay to go lighter because you can always go darker, but just remember you cannot go darker back to light. Like you can't go from dark to light. Like you cannot do that. So just go piece by piece with the dye. Well, only if you're a beginner. If you're used to this water dyeing thing, just add whatever is necessary. But me, I didn't take my time. I just jumped right on in and I put in as much dye as I thought was necessary. Okay, so I don't know about y'all rich people, but we save money over here. So you're gonna see me pour a little bit of dye, then put in some water and shaking it up, just to get the rest of the dye out of that bottle. Because honey, dye is not cheap. Like those bottles are $5, and yeah, money doesn't grow on trees. We work for everything over here. So yeah, just once you get to your last in your dye bottle, just put a little bit of water in that thing, shake it up, and pour it right on in. It will not hurt. So right here, I'm just putting in that same bundle back in again because I felt as though it was too light. It wasn't the dark magenta that I needed. So I'm just redying it here, opening in the bundle out, making sure that every single piece of blonde is now gone. Okay, so now we're down to our last bundle that we needed to be dyed. So as you can see, all of the bundles match up perfectly. Like, I was very amazed how everything just came out exactly how I needed it. So here I'm just re-dipping the closure in again just so it can match up to the color of the bundles. This is the last step before we start rinsing everything out with some shampoo and conditioner and letting it air dry. So yeah, you just want to make sure that everything matches completely, and you can see the color difference from the light magenta to the dark magenta. Like, y'all, yes, like y'all see that no stain on that lace at all, period. That lace is still natural color. And like, yes, get into that. And this is how she came out. Doesn't she look so good for her birthday, y'all? Like, period, come through. Yes, ma'am. So this is just a video of the closure after it was freshly washed, conditioned, and shampooed. Make sure you guys comment, like, and subscribe to my channel and turn on that notification bell to be notified for any more of my new upcoming videos. See you guys later, and thanks for watching.
SMG Audio, SMG Audio.
Hello?